as I speak, as of right now, in my last video, I had said that gold is gonna hit over $4,000 per ounce, and yeah, hell yeah, it did. But the bigger question would be like, was it like a treasury still safe as they used to be? Like, because a few months back, Moody came out and underrated the safe havens, because the way it looks, safe havens is no longer safe as it used to be. Well, it depends on how you see, how you understand things, or how you understand things of economics. But we should try to understand that for the first time, as we see gold today, just in 2025, gold has almost overpassed treasuries. What does that indicate? Like, it does economics. Does that show a booming economy, or does it indicate like the economy is doing really like at its best, or at its finest? In simple terms, I would say we are in a danger caliber. We are just looking at the trigger. Who's going to be pulling the trigger? See, the way you look at the stock market and the way how everything is looking like, you should be looking at in a form of saying that the stock market today is overvalued. Let's accept it. If you look at the working economy, and if you look at the micro or the macro economy, with the stock prices today, it keeps things in a way that you're gonna be asking yourself, are we taking the right path? Are we on the right road? Are we at the right caliber? It gives me a feeling of trying to say like markets today are in an era where if that's thing central banks, let's say like the Feds, looking at things using the word quote uncertainty. You have seen Jeremy Powell using that word most of the times. I would be sending the clips on the for the screen to see, but I don't have the clips here. But just try to understand. We have seen the Fed meeting most of the time, but whenever you see the Fed meetings, we see Powell using the word uncertainty. This is why I'm trying to show you why gold prices are going high. I'm beginning with central banks, because central banks are the real movers of money. Just in case if you don't understand, I'm gonna just give you some numbers, okay? Today, banks hold their reserves, okay? 27% in gold, okay? 23% in treasuries. And treasuries have been down since that's almost since 2020, okay? But the question is like, what's causing this caliber, okay? Well, in the beginning, it's both political and both economical, okay? I don't want to say we are in an algorithm of a myth or something. I don't want to say like we are organized to be here, but hey, I'm going to say it's destiny. We should try to understand that one of the major causes for gold going high, we should look at the Russian invasion of Ukraine in the first place. Well, that made gold prices to go high, maybe before and maybe $2,000, but that wasn't the actual reason why gold prices started to be abducted, like to be going that high like in the first place. We should try to understand that when gold prices started hiking up and going high, in the first place, it was caused by the freezing of the Russian assets. The moment the Russian assets got frozen, that's when we started seeing the BRICS shining and getting high, and getting the hypertension as we're seeing it today. We should try to understand that the moment the Russian assets got frozen by the Westerns, we should try to understand trust became a myth between the Westerns and the Asians in simple terms, because I'm going to say Asians as I bring out the BRICS, or the non-Westerns in simple terms. That's one of the main spark of the gold prices going high, because the political tension between the Russia and Ukraine would have been a normal conflict. But when it came to freezing the Russian assets, it made a call for India, it made a call for China, it made a call for other countries to start thinking of this. So, hey, if it happened to Russia, maybe it could be me tomorrow. In that phase, we saw countries like India taking back its gold from the UK, almost saying out 100 tons back to India. Just so you know, almost 68% of the central banks hold their gold on onshores. When I say onshores, I mean they keep them in their home banks or central banks. They are normal central banks. It's not like the India has been keeping gold in the UK and they'll be like, okay, let's keep it for safety in the UK, or maybe let's pledge our currency to the dollar or to the pound. But we should try to understand, why are they keeping their gold to them back? See, they are keeping their interests off the Western currency. And we should try to understand one of the major reasons why gold is going high. Now, I'm speaking on the political sector, and I'm coming to the economic sector. We should try to understand, in the political sector, we should try to understand that gold prices going high has been injected by 2 or 3 things. One, sanctions. Okay, see, the US has a behavior or a way, if you're not either agreeing or you disliking the policies that are being implemented by the US as a government of another nation, you're gonna find yourself sanctioned. You're gonna be finding yourself off the use of the SWIFT. That means that no US bank will be able to operate with you, or no business will be operated with you via using the SWIFT services. We should also try to understand that such a behavior, day one has got more attention than anything. We should try to see in simple terms, because as the one has got implemented, we should try to understand 2 or 3 things. We have had what they call division, okay? In simple terms, division, where we should try to understand that low prices today, we have seen the occurrence of the yuan, because countries that are off the US dollar, okay? Countries that are off the days of the physical deficit, okay? Or the US debt. The US debt today is heading for over $37 trillion, okay? If you look at the US, when I speak of the US debt, just try to understand that the US debt shows how the printing of the US dollar has been coming for the last 50 years, okay? Because when I speak of the US debt, we should try to understand how a government works. A government works in 2 ways, okay? And how does the government, and how does the government spend? The government works in 2 ways, by either taxing or using tariffs to its citizens and foreign goods coming in and out. The other way is by borrowing through bonds or treasuries. But you should try to understand those 2 things are now going the other way around. Especially treasuries, they are treasuring a few months back, as I said, Moody came down and treasured them down like they were no longer safe haven. They became from the AAA to the AA. They are actually still the best. They are still the best treasuries. If you compare them to the rest of the world, they are still among the best treasuries. But as for now, they're kind of becoming scary. You should try to understand, why are we seeing the US debt being available. One, when you look at it, it's going almost every after 2 months, they're almost adding $1 trillion. We just had a government shutdown, okay? The government shutdown, you know what happened? We know what happened. The government shutdown took place. One of the few reasons we should try to understand, why are they implementing the government shutdown? Because we are trying to see one of the biggest. I'm not going to be looking into like Democrats or Republicans. I'm trying to speak in terms of economics. We should try to understand 2 or 3 things. In simple terms, that why do we have a government shutdown? Okay, yes, it could be political. The politicians try to have issues with themselves, the Democrats and Republicans. But you try to understand, they also see that the US economy is not in the best condition. Okay, regardless you're Republican or Democrat, which we should try to understand that today the US is in a situation where they don't have a real formula of ending the US debt. Okay, there was a formula that they wanted to purge the US dollar to the Bitcoin, so that anybody who buys or either to add treasury on Bitcoin, so that anyone who buys treasuries, just to make sure they purge it to the rest of the world, as we had one of the Russian either secretaries or whatever, somewhere, he said something about they was wanted to purge the treasuries on Bitcoin, so that they could solve the US debt. But it's all a formula that we don't know how it will even work for them. And if it works, what will be the impact to us as we people who are to the rest of the world? How will it come out? We should try to understand that today the US debt came into some behavior that has caused gold to be really relevant to the rest of the world, that other than holding treasuries are better on gold. The next thing will be inflation, the hedging inflation. The hedging inflation that we are seeing for today, like the US had, inflation is something that the Fed has failed to conquer down. See, Jeremy Powell has a goal of 2%, okay? 2%, keeping the gold, keeping the inflation by down 2%. But I promise you, there's no central bank that's having such a goal as of now. A central bank that has a goal of 2% inflation is not like the same as today. If you know one, please let me know in the comment section. Today, inflation in the US is almost for 3.1%, okay? And we are hoping to see that more because as of today, we are in an era where central banks are trying to cut interest rates, okay? You know what happens when interest rates are going down, okay? Well, stock markets are going to be going higher. Well, assets are going to be going higher. Gold prices will be going high. And you know what causes that highly mostly? There's pretty more money that's taking place, indirectly or directly. We should try to understand that such factors indicate that gold prices are going to be hedging high and high because of such things like inflation in simple terms. So inflation going high, it means that we are going to stop seeing gold prices going high until if they could have a solution. The US gold reserve actually will just revised, I think, just by 28th September, something like that. The US reserves got revised from 11 billion to almost a trillion market value. Something that makes us to feel like, could gold be revalued on the dollar? That's one of the best speculation that's kept gold prices to go higher. Because as of today, gold has played well or has showed weaknesses in the fiat currencies, especially US dollar and US debt is facing, or the physical debt deficit is having. We should try to understand that the gold prices today are not stopping right now. Just to. Yes, they may, but the chances of that stopping are kind of less. So, as governments keep on acting the way they're acting, hope to see higher gold prices. Otherwise, thank you for watching.